Hey everybody, Jeff Antoniuk here. Welcome to Guided Listening this week. And this week I want to talk about the difference between composing, arranging, and orchestration. And so what we're going to do is look at a tune of mine. This is a song called Borrowed Time. We're working on this in the Blue community inside JAZZWIRE. We've done 580 lessons so far in JAZZWIRE. This is the first time I brought a tune of mine in. And we've been talking about arranging and big band and composing. And I thought, well, let me talk about the process I knew I took to compose this tune and then to arrange it for big band. It's called Borrowed Time. And it was recorded by the University of North Texas 1 O'Clock Lab Band. Historically, one of the great college big bands in the world. I had the extreme pleasure in the late 80s and 90s of playing and writing for that group. And this is off the album Lab 92, so named because I was in the band in 1892. It feels like it. It was actually 1992, but there we go. So if you would like, I would love to send this off to you. So write me at the address below if you're watching this on YouTube, and I can send you a lead sheet. So I composed this tune. If you want to do an arrangement, you have to arrange something that's already been composed. So don't try to write a big band chart when you don't have the tune already done. So I would suggest, what is the song? Now let's arrange it. So the song comes first. This is a song I wrote. It's 32 measures long. And inside JAZZWIRE, I got into how I composed it. It was inspired by the great Kenny Wheeler and a song of his, The Harmony. So there's a lot that goes into it. But suffice to say, it is a 32 measure composition. And I played it, in various small groups and things like that. I haven't recorded it over all those years, but wrote it for big band. So that's the first thing to know. Let's compose the song. Now we will arrange it. As you're arranging, you're going to think about orchestration. So that's sort of the flow. Arranging and orchestration are sort of interesting cousins that sort of coexist, but they're also different. So we're going to listen to this twice. It's short. It's less than 6 minutes long. So we know what composing is, I think. So arranging is now, let's call it what happens when. What is going to happen? Do we play the song first, or is there an introduction? How does the song end? Do we just run out of music and stop? Is there a point where there are solos? If so, who solos? Is there something other than the melody and solos? Is there a shout chorus? Is there an ensemble portion where the band expands on the composition? These are all possibilities. So you have to decide, what do we want? And then where do they go? We have to literally arrange them in time. Which comes first, which comes second? Should the third thing be third, or should the third thing actually be fourth? Well, if it's fourth, now what's third? A lot of thinking about it. Orchestration is who does those things. So we know the things and we know the order they want. Now, a simple thing would be, who do we want to solo? Is it soprano, sax, or trombone? So that's an orchestration idea. Now, maybe there are backgrounds behind the melody, sort of the background singers. Well, is it background singers, or is it an organ playing, on that Aretha Franklin tune? So who should be the backgrounds behind the soprano sax? Should it be trombones? Should it be just trombones, or should we add one trumpet with a harmon mute? So who should play the melody? Is it just one person playing the melody, or should it be three? So orchestration, so that's where it gets interesting. And the great orchestral composers, Prokofiev comes to mind, Peter and the Wolf. And are we going to have bassoon and piccolo? Is it going to be a cello? When did the timpani come in? Should it be timpani? All those decisions are fascinating, because it's like ingredients when we're cooking. Here's 10 different ingredients, but how many thousand ways can we combine those ingredients in different amounts to get a whole other experience, right? Here's flour, here's sugar, here's water. And if you put them together right, you can get a lot of different stuff out of it, right? So it's really fascinating. So let's listen through this first time, and now you'll have the lead sheet so you can follow along the song. So I'm going to talk us through a little bit about the composition and a little bit about the arranging of sort of what's happening now. And this can let you know how we went from a simple one-page composition to 6 minutes written for 20 people, and everything you're going to hear comes from that. So we're going to go through that, and then we'll listen a second time, and I want to talk a little bit more about the orchestration, the sounds you're hearing, how those got put together. So here we go, borrowed time. So, to pretend I'm sophisticated, I decided to start with almost nothing, piano and soprano sax, and they're just playing the melody, out of time, more or less. Here's measure 9. Still just the composition, a different instrument. So that's a bit of orchestration there. We're about halfway through the song. Okay, some things are starting to happen, but it's just the song, middle of the song. So if you're following the lead sheet, all of this is coming from the lead sheet. 8 from the end. Last line of the song. Now we're in time, and here's the melody a second time. But we're in time, we're grooving. It's a nice song, right? I like it. It's going by fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It's a fast Brazilian song. Last 4. And now solos. Electric bass. This is my friend Mike Pope, who went on to play with Chick Corea pretty much right after this recording session. Middle of the form. So again, it's going by fast. Last 4. Back to the top of the form. It's just a solo, right? So far, everything has happened inside the form of the composition. There hasn't been a single measure added or taken away. We just keep repeating the form over and over again. But of course, there are other things going on. We'll talk about that later. I feel it building. Something's going to happen, right? Something's going to happen. Don't know what. Oh, there's an extension, 4-measure extension to the 4. Something new now. It's not the melody, but it's not a solo. So this is a new second melody that I wrote. We could call this an ensemble section, a soli, a group of instruments playing some new material. But it's over the chord changes of the composition. 8 from the end, 7, 6. Something's gonna happen. What's it gonna be? Oh, there's a little extension there again. And now, soprano sax solo, going through the form. So the form, the composition is really king. I've only left it twice for very small amounts of time, and we'll talk about why I left it later. Wayne Delano, great Dallas musician who's a good friend of mine in North Texas. Second time through the form. So we hear backgrounds behind Wayne, and we'll talk about what that is, why it is, who it is later. But just noticing the band is being used, right? So here comes the end of the form. You can feel it building again, right? A third extension. There's the top of the form. So what is this? This is a third melody. We have the melody of the song, that first solo. This is a second one. And a quote of the melody. extension. And back to the melody. Essentially, DS al coda. This is exactly what we heard at the beginning of the composition. So I didn't have to rewrite this part. I had to write everything up to here, but this is just copying and pasting from the beginning. Which means the song is going to come to an end, probably. So what's the ending going to be? So this is the end of the form. It ends here. Oh, well, I'm repeating it. What do we call repeating the last four? It's a tag ending. Ah, dramatic. All right, I can hear the applause from around the world. Yeah, I was proud of that, and I hadn't done tons of big band writing up to that point. I'd written 2, 3, 4 things, but that was the great part about being in college is you write something, it'll get played that day. So finally got something that I was proud of and made the cut to make the album. And I'll say the musicians you heard there, incredible players, right? So those musicians from back in 1992 went on to some of the top big bands in the world, to some of the top studio performers in the world, Grammy winners in that group. So, I had the luxury of playing with, some youngish people who would go on and have gone on to incredible careers around the world. So it's, cool to listen back to that. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to say about composing for a big band or a large ensemble, symphony orchestra, which I have not composed for, but any sort of large ensemble. I remember hearing this from Paris Rutherford and other of my improvisation teachers. Is the bigger the boat is, the longer it takes to turn around, right? So if you're on a skateboard or a bicycle, you're pretty fast. You can kind of zip around some things. If you're driving a car, turning radius might be a little wider. And if you're in an ocean liner, it could take 5 miles to turn that thing around, right? And that's exactly what it's like writing for a quartet and what one sax player can do, and writing for 20 and the density of that. So density and texture are very interesting to listen for when you're listening to large ensembles. So when there's a lot of density, things take longer, right? Swimming in water is easier than swimming in oil. The oil is more dense. It's harder work. It takes longer to do things. I've not swum in oil before either. Okay, enough with the analogies. So that's a hard lesson to learn. And I remember, writing 8 measures of something and it just not working. And it wasn't because the notes were wrong necessarily or the rhythms were wrong necessarily. It's that I would try to cram too much into too short an amount of time. So we learn to stretch things out when we're writing. So I mentioned there were a couple times I extended the form. I left the 32 measure form. I just added 4 measures. Ooh, this time I added 8. To end the thing, I added 12. Why did I do that? Was it just because I thought it would be cool? Well, no, it needed that. The music needed time to breathe, time to relax. Maybe there was some super high trumpet stuff. It was so energetic. Our heart rate is up. We need to relax. I need to give you time to relax. I need to give you time to relax. Or an editor might make the decision like, no, we're bringing the next thing on right now. We're piling on. And we've read books and seen movies like that too. And so that's what the novelist is doing. That's what the editor's job is. Editing and arranging, it's all, which comes first and which comes second. So interesting stuff, right? So let's go back and let's listen one more time. And I want to sort of point out some of the combinations of instruments you're hearing. I should have looked at the score. I don't know if I've seen the score to this thing in 25 years. I'm not sure if I know where the score is. But I can hear and I can remember some of the decisions that I made and why. So let's check it out one more time. So as I said, I wanted to start at nothing. Piano and a soft saxophone and somewhat rubato, right? We don't know where we're going at this point. The texture is very thin. And now gets answered by a trumpet. So there's a lot of these two groups talking together in this song, the saxophone versus the trumpet. What happens here? Harmony. The two voices are now singing in harmony, trumpet and soprano. Okay, so more of the band comes in, thickening out. We have all 20 people playing behind those two voices. And we can feel things are winding up, right? We can feel we're building somewhat, and that's texture and density helping me with that. Now we're into the song, and now we get a sense of what this song is. Was it going to be a ballad? Who knows? Well, now we're in a samba. And there's my two voices again, soprano, trumpet. But listen, can you hear the guitar? The guitar is a third voice. I orchestrated those three voices. I like the sound. They still have the melody, but listen to the support behind them now from 15 other horns. And here's a big fanfare, building. And now the bottom drops out. So drama, right? A big moment of going from high screaming trumpets down to 3 rhythm section and the bass solo. So I was really toying with texture. How big can I get? How small can I get? Incredible solo, by the way. So now, in a big band, we often have background, something to support the soloist. So we have piano comping, as if we're in a small group. This is a quartet right now. And now, okay, way in the background, we hear a couple instruments. And those are the same 3 instruments that had the melody, trumpet, soprano, guitar. But now we're adding. Again, we're building. I'm using texture to sort of pull the slingshot back. Something's coming. And here's that extension. Extend it. We're kind of not sure what happens next. Back into the form. Wow, now I wish I knew exactly what instruments. It sounds like the trumpet section with guitar and soprano. Voiced nice and tight, lots of seconds and fourths in there. Might be 1 trombone as well, but it's a select group of instruments to get that sound. So again, we built energy, had a thicker texture, and now I thin it out. And what a great rhythm section. Jim White on the drums. Todd Shatroma on percussion, I believe it is. Great samba street kind of feel here. And now, we're probably going to hear some backgrounds. There it is. So I chose saxophone behind the saxophone. I brought in the saxophones first. Space. Now here's the breaths. And in the background, I'm using elements of the melody torn apart for the background, not just new stuff. Always reuse elements. There's another extension. I built energy, but I needed to dissipate it. Okay, we hear the trumpet is the lead voice. Maybe this is the section that's sort of voiced with trumpets. Oh, here's saxophones. Saxophones and trumpets are talking to each other. Now here's the big finish. And listen to this reverse pyramid. I'm proud of that. This is how I get back to the melody. I didn't know what to do, so I said, hey drums, take 8. And it worked. So arrangers, when you're not sure how to get from the end of the composed stuff back to the melody, 8 measures of drums. Works every time. And again, this is exactly the material from the beginning of the tune. I didn't have to rewrite this. And so now the band jumps to the coda. Here's new material now, starting here. It's from the composition though. And what's happening? We're decrescendo. I thin out the texture. Thin it out again. It's going to end soft. It's going to end weird. It ends dramatic. All right, so there's, I don't think, a single thing in there that I didn't steal, as in my own playing. So that pyramid, bong, dong, 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 dong. So often it's a pyramid built from the bottom up. Bong, gong, 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 gong. You've heard it a million times. Respighi and everybody else, you know, every film score you've ever heard, we hear the low notes and then we pile notes on top in time. Well, you can do it in reverse, as I did, high notes coming down. It's been done a million times, but when you do it right, it sounds great the million and first time. Lots of those voicings I was doing my best to steal from Kenny Wheeler, one of my most favorite arrangers and composers. And I was so influenced by the modern big band music that was going on at North Texas and still does. My friend Alan Baylock, who is now the head of the jazz division and leads the 1 o'clock. Is Alan the head? Maybe I just gave him a promotion. At any rate, he leads the 1 o'clock band. He's one of the most important big band writers in the world, because every big band in the world has played his music, no hyperbole. So Alan was there. You know, I was listening to Alan's music as a young composer, and he was, you know, so far ahead of me, and I was just trying to copy him and so many of my other friends there at North Texas. So I hope that gives you, really what I wanted to talk about is that distinction between what is a composition, what is an arrangement, and then what goes into an arrangement. So for me, orchestration is a big part of it. And texture and density is where you get your butt handed to you when you don't handle it quite right, or where a great composer, novelist, cook, screenwriter nails it when they toy with texture and density. It's a lot of fun. So I hope that allows you to listen to Stevie Wonder a little bit better. I'm not talking about the Stevie Wonder big band. I'm talking about Stevie Wonder, you know, singing Superstition or something like that, or allows you to listen to a country tune or Brahms or whatever it is. And now you have maybe some tools or some ability to listen inside and sort of have a sense of what's going on, or to hear the composition and say, oh, well, this composition, this Willie Nelson tune, used to be sung just by a guy with a guitar, but now Patsy Cline recorded it with a full rhythm section, but here it is in a symphonic setting. It's the same song. It's been arranged and orchestrated. Fascinating stuff. All right, thank you for tuning in with me. I hope you enjoyed that. And as I said, write in. I'd love to send you the lead sheet for Borrowed Time, and you can listen back. And you know, watching the lead sheet as the arrangement is going by is a very rewarding experience, I think. All right, enjoy it.